All right, good morning. Real quick, Jermaine dealing with his ankle. He's going to be out. He'll be reevaluated daily, so we'll see where he's at next week. And then everybody else is going to be a full participant.
Is it kind of crazy that Quincy's already back?
Yeah, when he had his injury, it looked, at least from my perspective, it looked really bad. We dodged a bullet. He dodged a bullet. We thought there was going to be much more. It was going to be much worse. But knock on wood, and credit to him too. He's been working his tail off to try to get back. So hopefully he gets a chance to go make some plays.
Is there a chance Vinnie Curry might be up this week?
There's a chance. We'll see how the rest of today goes and tomorrow. But there's a chance.
What have you seen out of Carl? He seems like he had his best game against Miami. Is he just getting his legs under him?
Yeah, he's getting better. He's getting healthier. Like I've said before, coming back from an Achilles is not easy. I think he hit his PR yesterday on his GPS, which is miles per hour. I'm not going to say what the speed was, but it was pretty fast for a big man. But so he's getting better and healthier every day.
Can there be any emotional elements since he did get hurt there last year, even though it was a totally different circumstance? Back to the scene of the crime zone?
That's more for him. Let him answer that.
Mike was saying yesterday that, like, Dwayne, obviously, with all of, he's had a long career and, made a lot of money. Like, when he had this injury, he could have easily just had surgery and, called it quits or whatever. But he said, I'm not going out like this. Like, what does that say about that he did all that?
He's, I was in Houston when we drafted him. One of the more selfless individuals you'll ever meet. Loves the game of football. He's made as much money as you can possibly make as an offensive lineman. He's had every accolade. Obviously, he wants to win a championship. And for him, when everything's guaranteed, you've already checked off all your boxes, and you really have nothing. Like, you only play because you love the game and you appreciate the teammates that you work with. And so for him, he's becoming the exception. Like that, just that mindset of team over me. And it's such a pleasure to have him on such a young roster to show guys that there's a reason why he's played for so long. There's a reason why he's had all these accolades. There's a reason why he's made all this money, because of the fact that he's willing to sacrifice himself for the betterment of the team. And at the end, servant leadership, when you give with no intent to receive, God has a funny way of giving it back to you twofold. And I think he exemplifies that.
I assume your running back rotation is going to be a week-to-week thing, exactly how you do it. But what goes into figuring out how to deploy those two guys? What are some of the things you look at and sort of figuring that out? And
it never goes according to plan. You're trying to keep it balanced between the two, so they have 17-game season, longevity, all that good stuff. But when you get in a game and one's riding a hot hand and he's just seeing it a certain way, you just roll with it, and that's really the gist of it. Yeah, it's you don't go in thinking one guy's going to get the ball more than another. That one guy has some plays, another guy has a few other plays. But when the game starts rolling, and that's what's cool about our system is that if Michael gets hot, he'll roll. If Brees gets hot, he's rolling, and if Zach gets hot, just let him roll. So you as a play caller, speaking for Mike, he's got to be able to feel that, and I think they do a really good job feeling how the guys are playing at that on game day.
Robert, C.J. Mosley is not the flashiest player, but it feels like every week you look at the stat sheet, there's 10 tackles, tackle for loss. What's it like, just his steadiness and just the reliability in the middle?
CJ, I can't say enough about CJ. He's our captain. He's the voice I'll lean on, especially in moments of adversity. He's such a great communicator, not just with his teammates, but with the coaches in terms of what he's seeing and what he wants to get done, and asks the right questions, does the right stuff. He's another guy, selfless warrior, stands out on the football field, and he sacrifices his body daily. He's hurting, he's in a lot of pain, but he's still out there. Doing extra in terms of rehab, so he's always doing extra to make sure that he's out there, and so really, again, another example of you look at a guy and you're like, why does he have so much success? And you just look at his character and how much he loves this game, and so having a guy like him is priceless.
When you guys signed Quan, I'd have to imagine that you didn't expect to be getting this much. I don't know what you hoped, but I can't imagine you thought, considering his injury history and the fact that he was even available when you signed him. Has he exceeded expectations, and at what point did you kind of realize, wow, we might have found quite the late addition here?
Yeah, it was a matter of him just getting his legs underneath him. He had missed OTAs, missed a little bit of training camp, but I was with Quan in San Fran, so you kind of knew what you were getting. Really excited for him because I think he's found another level of understanding on how important it is to take care of your body. He's only 27 years old, and when you're young, you think you're invincible, and which probably led to a few of the injuries that he had. But here he is now in this second stage of his career where he is just relentless in taking care of his body, but he still brings all the same juice and energy. And when he's fresh, he's one of the better linebackers in football. He's proved that earlier in his career. And the dude packs a punch. He brings energy. He's unbelievable in the locker room. His teammates love him. Coaches love him. And he's brought a different swagger to our defense, and so just like he did in 19. When I've said it before. I think Fred has gone on record saying that that's the best teammate he's ever had, and it's very real. Quan he's an unbelievable man.
Historically, with your defense, you're not known as a man scheme, but we were talking to Jeff yesterday. Basically, what you're getting out of DJ and Sauce is allowing you to do a little bit more of that. Has that been fun for you?
Yeah, to tell those guys to go play football while we do something else. There's an advantage to it. You don't want to put them on an island too much because they got to take a play off here and there too. They can't be running. It's a hard part of man. You can't be running forever. So you got to be judicious in this in how you deploy that type of strategy. But at the same time, we're still a zone team at heart. Being able to use those guys to overflow zones, over flood zones, and do the different things that we can do. Or we can play them straight up. So it just gives us the ability to add wrinkles to the scheme, and but maintaining our philosophy at heart, but having another wrinkle is always a benefit.
We don't ask you about special teams very much unless it's about missed field goals or whatever, but you guys are ranked pretty highly by most metrics. Like, what can you say about how the special teams you guys played for you?
Why are you jinxing stuff, man? No, Z's been lights out. Braden, ever since that first game, those two kickers have been lights out, knock on wood. And, they're both professionals. He's been in this for a long time, and he's hit a lot of game-winning kicks. Really looking forward to his opportunity to knock one through the uprights for a game winner here. And as far as Braden's concerned, he had two of them inside the 10, I think, against Miami. One led to the safety. So he's been those are so underrated. People don't talk about how big that was. And so they've both been doing very good. And give a shout out to Bryant also. He's been here a while, and special teams has always been one of the best units in this organization for years, and he's the common denominator. So he does a great job relating with his players, putting in the work, finding angles to give those guys the best chance to be successful, and I think because of it, our units here have an identity.
You mentioned Brant. I mean, he came here, I think, or Todd brought him board, and then he stayed with Adam, and now he's here with you. If I'm not mistaken, you had no connection with him beforehand, right? So when did you decide through the interview process, like, you know what, I'm going to roll with this guy as opposed to bringing on someone that you do know?
Watching a lot of tape first, and then talking to a lot of special teams coordinators, and there was a couple guys I had in mind, and everybody I talked to said, why don't you and then there's two things. One, everyone was telling me just keep the guy you have, and then the other one was a lot of people calling to get requests to interview him. And so I turned on the tape and I was like, all right, let me just look at the special teams unit, and it just made sense. He's a veteran. Special teams is one of those underappreciated units where one play can derail an entire game if it's not coached properly. And so to have a veteran who's done it, who's been here, who knows the lay of the land, and who knows how to coach it, it was very advantageous, for speaking selfishly for me, to keep him in place.
After that first game, Brant was pretty emphatic about Braden and Zerline being okay. Like he said, these guys are going to be okay. Like I know their history. Is that a conversation you guys have? Like, hey, what's your thought on these guys here? They struggled first game, and going into that faith you have in Brant as well, like making those decisions.
You're always talking. Their jobs were never in jeopardy. 1 week is not the time to hit the panic button. So it's one of those deals where it's just, there's 1 week we're all entitled to a bad game, and they've responded really well. So we never really gotten any conversations about whether or not it was time to pull the plug. I know Braden, he was dealing with a back on that Baltimore game, which was documented. He couldn't kick till later that week. So we have a lot of faith in both of them.
Robert, when you plug Nate in at guard, what were your expectations there, and the follow? Is he kind of that, is he kind of, it seems like the classic Joe Douglas, find, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. No, Nate, plugging him in there, we were expecting a toughness, a nastiness to his style of play. The best compliment you can give an offensive lineman is that you don't notice him, right? Because there's nothing demonstrative happening. But when you go back and watch the tape, you notice how nasty he is as a football player in a legal way. But he's definitely somebody that we have high regard for, and I think somebody who's earned his love in the locker room.
He's so quiet, it's hard to see him nasty on the field, right? I mean, his personality is very kind of head down.
It's the quiet ones.
Oh, yeah, going to Lambeau for you, and I assume for a lot of us, is, familiar, but for a lot of your young players, obviously, they haven't been there before. Do you want them to kind of appreciate being at a place like that, or just kind of treat it like a
little bit of both. I mean, I think anyone would be lying to you, even me, going to Lambeau as many times as I've gone. I think it's still such a treat to go over there. It's one of the most iconic stadiums in football. So enjoy it, but when that helmet goes on and you cross the white, it's all the same, and it's time to go get a football game.
It's like 20 questions. Isn't enough.
Guys, you gotta raise your hand.
I tried. I've been trying for 6 questions.
You get the last one. Fired.
He was
Fired.
A question and then a quick follow. With Elijah, like we've obviously seen him play pretty well on the outside. Is there any thought at all to maybe, like, could that be his future there, or when the opportunity presents itself, he's going right back to guard?
AVT.
Yeah.
We'll see. We're going to go day to day on this one, or week to week. What he's shown is he's got tremendous versatility. At the end of the day, we want to do right. We want to do right by AVT to make sure he's in the best position possible, so he can play the best that he possibly can, so he can make as much money as possible. That's my goal for AVT and my charge for AVT, to make Joe Douglas's life miserable, right? But at the same time, it's in this moment, it's about putting the best 5 out there however we have to, and credit to AVT with how he's handled it and the way he's done things. Like I said, when you give with no intent to receive, you get back twofold, and I think he's getting that. So
he'll play center?
you know what? If we asked him to play center, I bet you he could.
You're sure?
Yeah, we're recognizing Frank Robinson, Hall High School. They had a big win last week against a team that was previously unbeaten. This is a cool one. So he graduated from there 35 years ago. He was quarterback the team, and his dad also coached there for 30 years. So a lot of lineage and tradition for that family. So best of luck to you and your football team.
Possibly, yeah.
What the Giants did last week, can you take anything from that, or is Wink's system too foreign for yours to get much from?
I have so much respect for Wink and what he does. His pressure system. Love to sit with him in the off season and see if we can marry the two systems together somehow. But no, he did a really nice job with his game plan and getting Aaron off the spot and all that. So they did a really nice job. I thought their offense did a really nice job. They had 2 big drives that took up almost a quarter and a half. So really good complementary football, especially coming out in the second half. So a lot of respect for them. They did a great job.
Okay.